This is going to be the definitive War of the Visions UR tier list for both non-time limited as well as time limited units, guys. This is going to factor in both their PvE as well as PvP qualities. We'll mention what makes them strong, maybe what makes them a little bit weaker. So let's get into it.
If you guys are playing War of the Visions or Brave Exvius and you're not using the Amazon App Store version of the game, there's no reason not to, especially if you're making in-app purchases, because the App Store and Amazon coins are going to save you up to 20%. We're sponsored by Amazon in the App Store today. You can save up to 20%, especially if you use my special promo code down below. I'll have it linked in the description of every video for you guys, and it's not that hard to swap over. You simply need to go into your menu in your settings for either FFBE or War of the Visions. Make sure that your accounts are synced to the account email of your choice. If you're buying anything in-app, there's no reason not to save up to 20% on your valuable real-world money. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you once again for that sponsorship, and let's get into the content.
So buckle up, because the first unit we're going over out of all of these different units is going to be Warrior of Light. And Warrior of Light is traditionally an exceptionally powerful character. Very strong tank in the game, but he is just a tank right now at this moment in time. And if you want to factor in the qualities of high tier and PvP right now, he kind of is suffering a lot. He's still fantastic in PvE, but most units in the game are. Warrior of Light kind of suffers from dispels, where it dispels your threat, a lot of defense piercing, and things like that. So he's solid A tier, exceptionally strong, right? This is SSSSS, S, A, B, and C. And so anyone A tier plus is really good. SSSSS obviously is going to be the best of the best of the best. And then S is going to be extremely strong. A is still really good. And then we have B and then C afterwards there. And he's going to be a solid A tier pick here. Now, the next one here, Kane, another Final Fantasy time limited character here. Kane, right now, he is still an absolute monster. Immortality is exceptionally powerful. Does a bunch of damage, can even evade damage with his jumps up in the air. He's very, 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 very good because of all of these reasons. Piercing being one of the resistances that not a lot of players can really build against right now. He's also dark and light, and dark and light, they kind of are, two sides of the same coin. They only really counter each other. So that's another solid facet to Kane, because not a lot of characters out there can, or any at all, actually reduce his damage based on type mashup. So he's going to be really good for all of those reasons. Build up tanky, he's got natively high accuracy because his insane luck that's in the sky. So he's an insanely strong character. Now, if you want to go more FF4 stuff here, I am of the one to put Cecil in A slot. Cecil is a character who isn't really used all of that much, but he really specializes in allowing you to really abuse and keep a lot of your party members safe in both PvE as well as PvP through different damage type abilities, right? He's got physical shields that hit up to 4 of your own teammates, or magical shields as well. He also can contribute a large amount of damage, give himself an agility buff, give himself some defensive oriented buffs on top of that, and he has also attack down, which is pretty nice as well. And he can dish out some solid damage because he's going to get a really high attack main set here with the way you can build him with his passives from Soldier. He's a very nice character here. I don't think he's super broken. He's just solid, good guy. Cecil, not warping the meta in PvP, extremely strong in PvE still. All around good guy, Cecil here. Now, the final FF4 character, I do believe that's only these ones right here, is going to be Rosa. Rosa is your middle weird character. She's got heals, she's got damage, she's like magic, she's got some skills that aren't magic. At the end of the day, Rosa's pretty good as a character, but particularly for me, right now with the way that the game is being played and the cards that we have access to with vision cards and the espers that are there and the way that you want to put her in a party, I don't particularly think that she's one of the greatest characters in the game here. I was really hoping when she first got released that she'd be able to give a whole bunch more AP from her limit burst, and I'm going to put her in solid B tier. I think she's pretty good, but she doesn't really offer a bunch of crazy substantial things that a lot of some of the other characters that can do damage and heal that you will see and talk about later can provide you. Now, the next one here, Thancred. Thancred is pretty good here. I think he's a pretty solid character, all things considered. You can do a lot of things with Thancred, right? He can run a high Piercel. Missile resistance. He's kind of weak to magic, but you can kind of build him against that as well, or just rely on magic reflex there from the red mage substat. Very good, and he'll probably get a little bit more use later on when you're trying to put together some all light teams, maybe when the EX system rolls out, or if you actually end up getting his EX, whenever that becomes a thing. So he's a flexible guy. He does pretty good stuff. He just kind of has a hard time finding a team to be built with him in mind, unless you're trying to build specifically for PvP, like a mono missile team. So he's a pretty good guy, but I'm also going to slot him right into B tier. You can get him, you can maybe put him in like A tier, A minus, B plus, somewhere around in there. But he is pretty good, but he's one of those, he's kind of good, but he's not like really warping the meta. He doesn't do like one solidly broken thing. Unless you want to say that he can solidly be broken by making himself 100 missile resistance, in which case in PvP, you don't want to do that. Everyone is going to die on your team because he has no way to actually build threat, which is why he's going to be in B tier. He's a tank kind of character that can't really build threat for you there. Now, speaking of a tank character, that is a bruiser that can build threat for you. Agrias, obviously an SSSSSSSSS plus tier. Agrias is insanely powerful. She's bruisery just by the definition of the stats that she has, what's on her talent board, what she has access to in sub jobs, Paladin being one of them. Her main job is also fantastic. She's also in PvP, the RNG queen from status elements. So she is very good, can do a ton of damage, can tank up and soak up a bunch of damage, has very strong support with magic resist, or not magic resist, but magic barrier for your team, or spirit up for your team, regen for your team, attack and magic up for your team. She's a queen in PvE, she's a queen in PvP. She's insanely strong, and she's going to stand the test of time, and I don't want to know what she's going to look like if she ever gets an EX. I don't know anyone wants to know what she's going to look like if she gets an EX. All right. Next one up here, we have Delita. Fireboy Delita. He's going solidly into B tier with me down here as well, because he's kind of like Agrias, but not as well. He's not as bulky as Agrias. He can be bulky, but he's not as bulky as Agrias. Some of his attacks don't use attack stat, which is his main stat. Some of them want to be magic focused, and so he's kind of got this like flip flop of kind of what he wants to do. He is very solid, but B is still solid. A is extremely good, S is incredibly good, and then triple S is like broken, and then C is like subpar than everyone else in the game, but still usable when it comes to these things. And B is just your standard, like slightly better than normal class here. So I'm gonna put Delita right there because he's slightly better than normal, right? He doesn't have insanely high anything. He doesn't have one solid attribute that really makes him an absolute beast monster boy. This is probably because Flame Tongue doesn't exist as a weapon for him. But anyway, speaking of Flame Tongues and weapons that exist, we have the big boy, Old Mandu. Now, Old Mandu is still very solid A tier character. Has gotten the Coral Sword that helps him out quite a bit here with his damage as well. One of his main drawbacks, though, specifically in PvP, like the most accurate guy of all time. But in PvE, he still has the ability to counter refresh, which is huge for him. He can be built a little bit tanky too, just like Delita, but then he's got all these crazy things. He's got defense downs, he's got lightning and paralysis, he's got the ability to give himself haste. He's got all of this crazy stuff that he can do here, and he becomes a monster with bells because it takes away one of his big weaknesses, which is his mobility is not the greatest, but he does have a lot of long range attacks. Give him some AP, you set him out there, you want him to crush stuff, he's going to crush stuff very well for you in PvE still to this day, especially on stuff like Tower, where he's gonna have a bunch of different stuff, right? He's got Samurai sub, he's got all this other stuff. So that's just why he's solid A tier champion still. Now, speaking of solid A tier champions, also back in time, we have Ramza, and Ramza's pretty good still. He does not have the same unique utility that he used to back when the game first came out, which was one of the things that's been taken away from him, is being able to holy bomb an invasion team in the face. You can still do that, but there's some different characters out there now that's just not going to work against here. Ramza still does have some very nice buffs here for PvE. For PvP, for the time being, he's kind of sort of fallen off a little bit here. You can still use him, but he doesn't bring anything super special to the team when it comes to, right? We have more access to, he used to be able to be known for shout. We have a bunch of stuff we can do AoE attack and magic buffs now that do extraordinarily better other things than what Ramza can do afterwards, right? Being able to go in and use his ninja skills that ignore slashing resist and all this other stuff is not really all that great. We do have better weapons for him now, right? Better magic weapons, but at the end of the day, I think he's still going to be solid B tier for us right now. Now, we still have no one in S tier, we have no one in C tier, and so what are we going to do here? How do we fix this? Let's talk about one of the newer characters here, Sleepy Girl. Sleepy Girl, a lot of people really sleep on Sleepy Girl. I think Sleepy Girl is really, really good in a lot of ways because she has the ability to go toe-to-toe with a lot of different enemy types and some of the harder enemy types to really build against right now in War of the Visions, like Missile and Pierce. She also can provide the ability for your team to be built against those teams as well because she has Missile res up and Pierce res up on the same skill. She has magic res up. She can drain HP. She can hit really hard. She can be a tanky rude girl on top of that. And she also has the ability passively, right, for her natural resistances for Missile and Pierce res up. She's very, very good. She is holy, so if you want to try to fight Kane with her in PvP, she's going to take that 25% more damage, but Kane's also going to take 25% more damage from her as well. And you get her Pierce res up significantly high and actually go toe-to-toe with that boy. He'll damage you, maybe hit you for 30 your HP, and you're just going to smack him into the ground, and you're going to heal back up, and he'll damage you, and then you'll kill him. Sort of thing. So she is significantly very underrated, I think, by a lot of people out there. Also fantastic in PvE, right? You get on those maps with all those archers. She's got missile res up for your whole party. She get on the map with a whole bunch of spear users. Good to go there. So you guys know there was a hard mode fight not too long ago that you could farm brew mode where it was just literally all archers and Pierce units. And if you had her, I solo that whole thing, to be honest with you, if built correctly. So very, very, very strong character there. Now, going into some other characters here, we have normal Macherie. C tier. You could make her D tier if you wanted to. One of the worst units in the game. Poor stats all around. Attack bad, magic bad, defense bad, spirit bad, HP bad, TP bad, AP bad, damage on her skills bad, multipliers on her heals bad. All that's bad. Her EX is significantly better, but this is not an EX tier list, so keep that in mind as well. Right now, she is one of the worst units in the game. Very little utility, very little reason to use her. Joining her down here in the C tier is going to be everyone's favorite girl, Eileen. So very slow, nothing super crazy about her. Throwing them javelins across the screen is still her best move, or trying to get her into range when you have low agility, low speed, low jump, slow movement, getting in there to use those AoE focused around her center attacks. Not that easy to do, not when we have characters like, Agrias and Kane and all these other characters in the game that can hit you from a map away. You're never going to get close enough. So she's solidly down there in the C tier for sure. Solidly in C. That's what I want to call her. Solidly in C. Now, another character who's just solid all around right now is Ayaka. Ayaka's very good. She's a very strong character still to this day because of her ability to have access to haste, to have access to protect, to shell, which are all around basic generic buffs, but also makes her AI kind of stay back so she doesn't really get hit by anything that's not super long range, especially if you have someone with threat like a taunted bladed Agrias or maybe your warrior light down here. So she's got these really good buffs. She has the instant cast big range heal on her limit burst that costs AP instead of TP, so it saves on her TP so she can heal up a little bit there. Has access to Holy, has access to Comet, also has access to using some of the unique vision cards like the old Dark Helena card here where she gets Shadow Flare as well. So you add Shadow Flare, now she's got AoE resist down. She's a very good character. Right now I'd put her in A tier. I don't think she's like inherently broken, right? The most broken thing about her, right? The two things that keep her up above a lot of other characters. She's got full life, which a lot of other characters have, but then her LB. So pretty good. Her LB, having full life and having haste, really make her strong. She's an all-around very good character, both PvE as well as PvP. If you want to use her in PvP though, you got to make sure she's protected because she's squishy and she's gonna go down and be under some daisies if you don't do that there. Now then we have Duane here. Duane, boom. Duane is a big boy. Duane is very good. I might even underrate Duane a little bit here when we talk about him, but Duane is very, very strong. Now one of the best things about Duane is, just like everyone else, he holds his own in PvP. If you're like above B tier or above in PvE, you're like good to go. All right. So Duane's cool thing is that he's just all around strong. He's got his own buffs here. He's got some nice party buffs, offensive and defensive wise. He can, boost his own defensive stats as well as his own offensive stats. He has got a nice AP break associated with one of his best skills. I believe that one's Magic Infuse, which can really come down and close out some things like Guild Wars and Arena and stuff like that, which allows you to drain AP off of a character, so they're just gonna be just shy enough of hitting you with their hardest hitting skill, which is very nice there. And he's got this all-around sort of bulkiness to him. I'm gonna put him in S tier though. He does have a couple weaknesses, right? We're talking about dispels being super prevalent in the game here, and he's not like the quickest character in the game. He's not slow, but he's not like the quickest character in the game, and he needs to get in range. So on certain maps and things like that, he's gonna have a hard time. The better Duane will be is on closer range maps. So closer range maps, he's gonna get really good. You put him on those long range maps where he's gotta like jump around and all this other stuff that he can't do, he's gonna have a little bit of a hard time there, and he really needs to get in range to do anything of relevance there. Doing anything of relevance in dispels being a problematic thing in the game, Engelbert, the original OG wall, very strong because he is able to be built to have huge defense. He is if you want to stack a mono defense, he is your guy, right? Get up to like 90 something defense on this dude, and he doesn't need to worry about slash resistance, missile resistance, piercing resistance. Doesn't matter what your resistance is on this dude. He's gonna block everything by like 90 something percent, which was a huge problem back at the start of War of the Visions, for sure. We couldn't really hit those numbers right away, but now you kind of can, and that becomes a problem back then. But now we have defense down, we have ignore percent defense, we have things like double gunner with tune-up or sub jobs, or people with access to that double gunner sub job, and that becomes a little bit more of a problematic thing. We also have better mages, right? Mediena was still good at the original time, but now there's even more mages that really prey on Engelbert here, and a lot more dark DPS like Kane. And so what happens is he kind of goes down to B tier 2, and because the final nail in his coffin that knocks him from like A to B is that he already has all these weaknesses with all these defense downs and these ignore defense percents, but his final weakness is dispel, just removing his threat. If he has no threat, he's not doing anything. He's just this big burly boy that walks around and doesn't really get to do a whole lot. The other thing is that he doesn't have an easy way to put threat up at the start of the battle either. So if you have to wear a vow of love and then he gets dispelled, he's not taunting bladed anytime soon, and your tank is gone, and your strategy is ruined in PvP. So Engelbert, solid B there. Now Frederika is coming in. Frederika, where do you guys think Fred's gonna be going? One of the first units, she was the first character to be on a feature banner outside of the launch of the game, which was Stern and Gilgamesh. So it was Stern and Gilgamesh, and then the first new banner was Frederika and Shiva, which is it's pretty powerful. That's pretty good. Frederika is still solidly A to this day. There's nothing wrong with Frederika. That's what happens when you have Ninja as your sub job. That's what happens when you have Shikuchi, when you have Reflex, when you have Barrage, when you can wear bells in PvP, when you have range, you have Missile Mastery, you have buffs that give you Missile Mastery up, when you have 100% hit move. She has answers to everything still, and it definitely feels like they've improved Ranger AI a little bit when it comes to auto battles for PvE as well as PvP there. Thanks, War of the Visions. FFBE guild battles around. I got you. All right. So she's very, very strong. PvE, PvP, can hold her own. Multi-missile teams, is a thing in high tier PvP for a reason. Frederika could be part of that if you have access to her there. Has some very good vision cards, some very good gear that she can wear, and is all around still just holding up A tier, solid tier. Nothing wrong with that girl at all in any way, shape, or form. Now we have Garvel here. Garvel is, man, I've been able to use Garvel. Garvel is S plus tier. This boy has answers for so many things, it's not even funny. So like Frederika, who has reflex, Garvel has physical reflex, he has magic reflex. He also has physical barrier. He also has very long range skills from Energist. He's got 100% accuracy skills. He's got the ability to lower your spirit or increase his spirit pen and magic pen with his TMR as well as his limit burst there. He's got an incredibly powerful passive that gives him insanely high stat bonuses for 5 turns at the start of the battle in PvP. He even has access to get around magic resist because some of his attacks are a missile as well. And you can also use him in a lot of cool teams in PvE and PvP because while you cannot chain magic attacks, you can element chain them. He also has access to missile attacks. So maybe you have someone like Frederika in the team with Garvel in PvP or PvE. You can chain their missile attacks for non-elemental chaining. Or you can have maybe another dark character and chain Garvel in the other dark character like Kane and chain their element dark attacks. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do there with Garvel. It's very nice. He's very strong. He's very bulky. He's pretty fast. He's not the most dodgiest boy of all time, but he is very, very good. And he also does have, in case you're, like a MASH battle RTA fan, some crowd control with his sleep, which is very nice. Long range sleep. So he's got it all. 100% hit, all the buffs in the world with his TMR, with his debuffs, with his LB, long range, hard hitting character. He's a wonderful, wonderful character. You know who's not a wonderful character? Mont's dad. Get this guy out here. He's C tier. He suffers from the same problems Eileen does. They're the same class, the same class. He's just fire instead of earth. Suffers the same exact problems right now. Slow. You have to basically survive as you meander your way towards your other character that you're trying to fight. Just not worth it. Just not worth it at all right now. At all. Now let's talk about Eldira here. Eldira, man, so many people overlooked Eldira when she came out. I told you guys she was good. I told you she was a blessing in disguise. She was one of the best characters to save up for. I said that a month into the game, and she is still, boom, up here in S tier. She is so good. She might not be the best calculator in the world, but she is still a calculator. She is still doing broken things in PvE, in PvP, an auto battle. She's already insane. If you get to control your character, she can do broken things. So she is just that good. She's a fantastic, fantastic character. Calculators have very, very long range, very, very good height on their skills, can heal for a ton, can do damage for a ton, have access to different elements, right? She has holy as well as water elemental attacks, so she gets to double dip on, who she's fighting, what weaknesses that they are weak to with their element resist there, so she can do that as well. She's got access to, CT average. She's got access to her own LB. She's just incredibly powerful. And remember, all of these calculator skills, they're instant cast, which makes them insanely strong, insanely strong. Now, since we're on the topic of calculators here, let me grab my favorite girl. Where is she? Halloween little Leela, another character that, boom, I was like, guild mates. She's coming out. I'm telling you, they're not gonna skip the October one. And she came out, and she was broken, and she's good. What is better than calculator and white mage and ninja all at the same time? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out one day. But dang, she is really good. So for all the same reasons as Eldira, she doesn't have the CT average. She doesn't have Eldira's LB here, but she's got all the other stuff, right? She's got the full life. She's got the huge AoE heals, huge AoE damage, has wind damage, has holy damage, and also one of the things that we've been talking about breaking the meta so far, and one of the reasons why you have characters like Warrior of Light, Engelbert, kind of falling down a little bit, is her limit burst. It has a dispel on it, so you have a very fast character who can have good mobility and is going to come into contact with your tank. If they're running an Engelbert, if they're running a Cecil, if they're running whoever is trying to tank, she's just going to dispel them. She's going to run long right in there and just dispel them. Has access to one of the best self cards in the game right now with Typhon. Has the ability to actually play as a dodge character in a dodge team. If you give this girl a dodge buff, she's very hard to hit because of the ninja sub job. She's got really good luck. She's got really good agility. Just got really good evasion and evasion gear assets as well. And because the calculator job doesn't have anything that has a cast time, she's free to be a dodge character that entire time. So incredibly powerful character. Only thing kind of holding her back is, and she's still a triple S tier without this, is because she's a calculator. She likes to stand still when she buffs most of the time, especially when she self buffs, which makes it so you cannot really use the ninja sub job with her, because if you use Utsusemi, she'll stand in place if on auto battle, which is kind of bogus. I really wish that you'd be able to put Utsusemi on, so if she ran up to get in range for next turn, she could Usu Semi herself, and you'd have to give it the full life thing, but that would be whew, oh so good, as we talk about on this channel here. So let's bring up another character who is oh so good still today in my heart. This could be Whisper. Whisper's very good for doing certain things. Now Whisper right now I will put at A tier. She's all around just good. She's not broken in any way, shape, or form. She's especially powerful in PvE right now because there's so many ways to build her. If you come across the map that has, oh, I'm doing magic damage and slash damage, she can just sit there and take one the entire time, right? She's very good at being built for resistances, and she's going to have an incredible EX in the future, so it is definitely a character to invest towards, and we'll have a video on that, don't you worry, in the coming days. So a very strong character. Being able to hold threat with Taunting Blade, has magic resist buff because she is Spellblade as one of her jobs here, has breaks with the Knight class here, and in match battle too. If you want to use Whisper, you just get in there, use AP break. No one's gonna know what to do. You give her protection shell or something. You'll walk them forward. She takes minimum damage. You're like, hey bro, nice Ziza bells. You AP break them. You take like 150 AP when you AP break this guy. You AP break that guy. And they're like, I have no AP. What do I do now? Then you take your other characters and then you just murder them. No one really sees the Knight AP break coming. It is very, very, very strong. I use her in class match battle a lot of the time still, and she does very, very good things there. But even with all of that bias towards her, I'll still put her at A tier because I don't think she and maybe this is because of her EX, but she's held back by AI PvP because there's so many things to build around right now that she really gets punished if you are met against the wrong thing right now. That changes later in the future though, so keep that in mind. You see me smiling when we talk about Whisper. She cool. Now Fryevia here. Fryevia is a very good character in a lot of ways, but she suffers from one terrible thing, and I think she has the worst AI in the game. I think she has the worst AI in the game. It's atrocious. It's terrible. I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with the way that she does stuff. Her AI is so bad that she will actually use the wrong type of heals at the wrong time, and she will also panel cast single target heals into the floor for some reason. Like she'll cast Curata at the ground instead of someone that's in range, right? If she's here and someone else is here, she's like, I need to heal you. So like, I'll Curata you, and the guy's like, I'll walk away, and you see Curata going to the ground. It's like, Curata's single target. So I don't know why her AI is so bad. They haven't fixed it in forever. I've given up on them trying. I don't know what they're doing. Also, her AI as far as movement and casting stuff is really weird too. She wants to charge into battle, but she'll charge into the battle while she's trying to cast a spell, or she'll like run away. I don't know. I think her AI is still broken. It's one of the worst AIs in the game. If she had better AI, she'd be pretty good. I'd probably throw up an A tier. She's very good at being anti-magic resist, and AI being one thing that's really weighed her down here. But if you get to control her in like PvE or controlled player PvP, she's pretty powerful. She can play her role. She's very, very, very bulky for a healer, and she's got full life, very anti-magic, build her for like almost 6,000 HP, and she is very good at dumping a bunch of AP all at the same time with limit burst. But bad AI equal bad unit. That's what I hear back. That's what I'm saying. All right, bad AI equal bad unit. All right, so Kitone here, another one of my favorites. But Kitone, she suffers from that I don't do anything special technique, right? Her most special thing that she has access to is Drain Force. She's a good dodge unit, very fast, very quick and efficient, good movement speed. You will use her for a lot of stuff. She also has some cool facets that do make her unique because she does have Time A, so she does have X to haste. And with her high movement speed, when you get to control the character, you can also use her with the often not talked about transport skill in the game, or spell. You can take low movement characters, like we talked about, like Eileen and our boy King Old, I think, yeah, and target them, run into the front with Kitone, and then they'll transport and they'll swap places, and you'll be able to throw them into the middle of the enemy line. So that's pretty cool here, but I'm still gonna put her in B here. Psycho Shadow Mine is still an incredibly powerful skill, but I don't think it's anywhere close to these A tier characters that we have up here so far. I use her in RTA, PvP all the time, match battle PvP as well. and speed teams where I get her to just go and shadow bind somebody and stop them. But that also has fallen off in prevalence because there's characters who are immune to stop now quite a bit. And when your character's sole thing is stopping someone, I don't know how I feel about that. If that's your whole shtick. All right. Speaking of more B tier characters, Stern's coming in. B tier, has a lot of attack, does a lot of damage. That's really what he specializes in, is hitting things really hard. Afterwards, he dies to everything and is a extremely selfish character. Has no AoE master ability and just is generic B tier character right now. He has a problem with the meta, basically, right? If you can't one-shot somebody with him and he gets one-shotted back, which is going to be characters that are dodging him or characters that have guts like Kane and other future characters that we'll be talking about. If he doesn't kill someone, he's gone. And if he does kill somebody, he and someone else might die because he doesn't have huge AoE. He's got decent AoE, but not like huge, massive AoE. Speaking of huge, massive AoE, AoE, we have Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is still an incredibly powerful character. He maybe is one of the only characters with slash attack or slash resist down. Very powerful. Has access to time mage. Has access to self haste, even if he's not on time mage. Can haste other people if you want him to be like that. Can quicken other people if you want him to do that, which is an incredibly powerful strategy in a lot of team compositions. And is all around just a good guy. Also has 2 mastery abilities. He's a very solid dude, and he's one of the better characters still in the game. If you build him right, have him in the right team, just because you can do, you guys have seen it before, you can double bomb people with Kotetsu into an AoE slash move and you just wreck everything. PvE, PvP, it's fantastic. That debuff is so good that even on raids, maybe not recently, but older raids, there's been a lot of strategy where it's just like, I'm gonna bring Gilgamesh and then we're gonna bring 3 of whatever element that the boss is weak to in slashing. Even if the boss isn't weak to slashing, just get rid of his slash resist and you get in there. I forget what boss it was. I remember doing it triple old man and Gilgamesh. And just boom, bow, Kotetsu. We did it. Forget what raid that was. We did extremely well on that raid too. So he's just an all-around fantastic character. All things said and done. Now, next up, we're going to have access to another character near and dear to some players' hearts. And this is going to be Ziza, which is near and dear to her old illusionary bells. But she does have another use beyond that. And that is going to be through her ability, Steel Heart. Now, she has Steel Heart, which is very good in PvE. A lot of the times I still use it to this day. You take some monster who wants to destroy you on a really hard floor and you steal her heart, and then you steal someone else's heart, and all of a sudden you have like 2 extra characters in your team that are healing your team or debuffing the enemy team, or they're killing each other now. Awesome. But that's kind of like her shtick, really. They get a little bit better with the new UR gauntlets, but she's not really all that special. I don't want to waste too much time telling you about why a character isn't the greatest thing of all time. Speaking of not being the greatest thing of all time, we have Ruin Stern. Put that boy in SSS tier. All right. Ruin Stern, very strong character. Accuracy buff, attack buff, has a counter, slash attack buff up, has a massive AoE, good speed, has access to illusion, very flexible character, incredibly powerful. Is a double cost unit. Yes, he's very strong. SS plus tier for sure. Flexible, is good with an accuracy team, is good with an evasion team, has huge AoE, is one of the characters to pair with Gilgamesh for that Kotetsu double AoE bomb. Very strong stuff here as well. So yes, Knight of Ruin Stern is triple S rated here. Triple S rated. But what about Christmas Viktora, guys? What are we doing with Christmas Vic? Christmas Vic, I still think, is a pretty powerful character. I don't think she's broken, but I think she's a pretty powerful character. I put her in A tier. She's a bruiser, anti-magic character that also can do some nice anti-physical stuff as well, if you so desire. Only thing really holding her back is her AI is a little bit weird. She kind of likes her striking buff a little bit too much, where she'll go off and give like your healer a striking buff. She's like, everyone must have striking buff. You could have like 3 different buffs, and she wants everyone to have the striking buff up before she has her own buff up. And so on some maps, you're gonna have that problem in PvP, which kind of brings her down a little bit. But anti-magic has very nice buffs, can hit huge HP, 6,000 plus, can self-heal, very good in PvE as well for all these reasons. It's just an all-around strong unit. Isn't broken, isn't SSS plus tier or S tier, isn't below average like B or C. So throw her right into A, right where she belongs. But what about Luartha? Now, we've been talking about a lot of gunners so far, or the ability for you to build against gunners being very powerful, and Luartha is just solidly in there. Now, she doesn't have the range or the speed of a lot of the other gunners, but she's got the damage, and she is a fire character, which there's not a lot of fire characters on this list or in the game, as you can see. Is she the first one? Oh yeah, I forgot about King Old. I knew someone was like, I forgot about King Old. I knew this. Oh, and Delita. Okay, so she's only the third fire character that we've gone over so far, but that's very good. Which, a lot of the more common gunner type characters are lightning or water, with Xmas Vic and stuff that we'll get into. And she is fire, which is very unique for a missile type character. She does very well against Agrias, can do very well against Gilgamesh as well. All around, just a solid gunner type character. Speaking about fire characters, now she's okay right now. We'd have Fire Macherie from Christmas Macherie. Just an all-around solid good character. Has the jumps, has some defensive buffs. Can be played like kind of tankery, bruisery, but not like super much. She's just an all-around okay dragoon type character. Isn't bad, isn't great, isn't awesome, isn't insane. And she just kind of sticks around at A tier because she's all-around solid in PvE. Can be used in some PvP teams, especially if you want to do like a piercing PvP team. She can do that. She can avoid damage in PvP and PvE with her jumps. She has fairly good range on her jumps too, which is very nice for her there. Now, speaking of dragoons and polearm users and all that good stuff, we have everyone's favorite, Glaciela. Glaciela's a very good character. I think Glaciela, I want to put her in S, but I think she really belongs in A. Because she's not as good as Duane or Sleepy Girl or Eldira or Gilgamesh. She's good. She'd be like A+ tier. And she used to be a lot better. And this is specifically brought down a little bit because of the PvP meta. Because Slash was like the meta at one point, right? We didn't have all these other piercing attack characters. Slash was like the meta. And Kane is one of the characters that you will see always in PvP at high level. As far as PvE goes, A, solid grand slam. She's a bulky bruiser, has 100% hit move, very good, can jump as well and get right into the fray there. Is a good character though. I think also one of the other things that she's kind of held back by the meta is that there's not a lot of really good, pyro characters for her to really beat down on. The highest one on this list is Luartha. So there's only one other character with her being water with the name Glaciela. Don't ask me why. For her to really try to take down a peg that she can counter. And it doesn't really exist here. So she is staying right there. Now, speaking of gunners and the old meta and stuff, we have access to Lucia, who is still holding her own. She's still an A tier character. Listen, you'll never see me put like a ranger like in the gutter, because unless they have like no attack and no skills, and they're not allowed to wear weapons, they still have range and they can still hit things across the map. And they're still probably gonna have reflex, and you're gonna hate that the entire time. So that is very, very good in both PvE as well as PvP. Lucia is still here to stay. She's good. She has access to a bunch of defense penetration. She's got smoke screen if you want to build in her dodge team, which also gives her some defense as well. Just very good all around. She's got some odd moves with double gunner, right? With split shot, you might be able to hit two people even though they're nowhere next to each other. It's like a reverse AoE. That's how good that is. It's like I'll hit you guys over here. You take them both out. It's very strong. It's very good. So she definitely deserves it to sit in the solid A tier category. A tier category. All right, what about my boy Rob Horn, bro? Rob Horn, one of my most favorite recently discovered TMRs in the game. But this isn't a TMR list. Rob Horn on his own, he's not anything special. I know I'm gonna make a lot of people mad. he is in C tier for sure. He is samurai, and for all intents and purposes right now, anyone with sub samurai does everything Rob Horn does, if not better. He has no real unique skills. I mean, he's got like the machine slayer skill, which might come into fruition with Nier Automata, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be one-shotting 2B with your level 99 Rob Horn, or maybe not even with your level 120 Rob Horn, because it's only like a 25 mod increase. So like, that's not that big of a deal. You're going from like a 200 mod skill to a 225 mod skill. He's not going to double your damage or anything. So that's my dig on Rob Horn, is that anyone with sub samurai that has access to sub samurai literally has like access to all of his cool skills. And sub samurais are everywhere. Like Whisper has access to all of Rob Horn's skills basically. So he is C tier, and he doesn't have anything a whole lot special going for him because of that, the whole like weird way that samurai is designed as a class there. All of its special stuff is in its sub job for some reason, like the illusion buff. If Rob Horn was the only illusion buffer in the game, he'd be much higher up, but anyone with samurai has that illusion buff. So why do you want to run Rob Horn? I don't want to go on a rant. Okay, I don't want to go on a rant. Anyway, speaking of samurais, speaking of illusion, speaking of having unique stuff that makes you insanely good, we're gonna talk about Laswell. Now, everyone I see talks about how bad Laswell is. Blah 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 blah. Laswell is an insane dude. He is gonna float between S and SS plus tier here. Honestly, he's insanely good in PvE. It's really hard. And then when it comes to PvP, he's got a couple of broken things. He's got some nice accuracy. He's got some nice stats for evasion. He has access to samurai, so he can be illusion again, just like our boy Knight of Ruin Stern up in here. And then he's got one of the most broken things in the game when it comes to high tier PvP, which is a Mirage. Because high tier PvP, in the state of the game that it is right now, it's a tempo oriented thing. You can't just sit there and tank, because your tanks get dispel. They have no hate. You can't just sit there and try to actually tank up on all your team, because people are going to ignore your defenses and they're going to ignore your resistances, and you're just going to get flattened into the ground right now. And so you rely on a lot of guts, and you rely on a lot of dodge. And he's got access to Mirage, which allows you this tempo oriented style of gameplay, which you go, all right, I'm going to bring Laswell, I'm going to buff him up, he's going to take a step forward. And the enemy goes, I'm going to take a step forward and attack you. And one of two things happens. You just naturally dodge it, or they take your Mirage away and they don't do damage anyway. And then your Laswell kills them. And then you get a Mirage again, or naturally dodge again. He's very strong for that reason, because of just how he sits in the meta right now in 2021. He's very, 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 very good. That may change in the future, but right now he is very strong. He's very strong. And he's one of the characters I don't really ever want to fight. One of the characters I wish I had right now, just because of how he plays in that game plan. And in the future, he's cryo. Oh my god, that's too much gunship packed. He's ice, so he's gonna have the big buffs. If you have the Fenrir card in your party, 50% attack buff while getting magic resist. Or if you have Odin in your party, he's gonna get even more accuracy. He's just gonna counter all these evasion teams. And one of the best evasion units in the future is 2B. So if he ever gets his EX, he's gonna eat 2B for breakfast, honestly. So that's gonna be a fight for the ages, 2B versus Laswell. Very strong character with the way that it sits in the meta right now. So very good. I just wanted to talk about that. Now, speaking of cryo characters, let's talk about Mediena. Mediena, for me, she is still B tier. If this was a PvP list, I'd put her in C, but she's still B tier. She still does PvE very well, right? Drops that LB, gets that ice resist down there for you, farms up relatively fast. Is a lot worse than the calculators that we've seen. She's not Eldira tier or Halloween Little Leela tier, because they can farm up as fast as Mediena, do damage faster than Mediena, and then heal. And in Halloween Little Leela's case, be just as dodgy, if not dodgier, than Mediena. So Mediena did get a little bit better with the AI changes, but she's still B tier. Nothing super crazy. She's not C tier. Just she's there for the PvE right now. All things said and done. Now I want to talk about Kilphe. Kilphe is my girl. Kilphe is still strong. She is S tier for sure here. A tanky magician mage. Very strong. Has the shield barrier, so if you go against physical teams, that's awesome. You can build a little bit tanky, so they don't take damage, which she does naturally, because you can give her defense from her job abilities as a passive. Very nice there. Has 100% hit versus your regular dodge teams with both Holy as well as access to, oh my goodness, what is it called? Because it always misses. Her AoE Earth skill. I don't know. Put it down in the comments for me. I can't believe I didn't remember what that was. But she can do that as well. She can also side heal with like Hirata. She has move up and jump up if you want to put that on for a certain map there. And she also has access to the ability to get in there and do all of that damage. Basically, as we say it, she's a very strong character still to this day, basically because of her physical barrier. And on top of that, she has access to some of the new vision card abilities, right? Like Ruinja. So she can really hit really hard if you have some of those vision cards maxed out and ready to go on her. You're doing some high tier PvP. Really think about that. Now, Niv'lu here. Niv'lu is S tier. She is going to be here. Now, she's not broken, but she's definitely part of the reason why the meta's warping away from tanks, because she has Dispel Spread. She has 40% defense pen as a buff. She's got good range. She has the ability actually to make your dodge team even better with some RNG, because she has access to Counter Smoke, which Counter Smoke is freaking amazing. It's my favorite skill as a reaction command in the game, because it will drop your accuracy by 42 before you even hit me, and then you'll miss me. And it's got a pretty good proc rate on it. So, and her TMR exists here. This is not a TMR tier list, but it's also another 30% evasion buff that can hit multiple characters all at the same time. So she kind of tries to bring evasion meta back into the fray. Very good character. Like Niv'lu, Laswell, and Little Leela. Got the Dispel for your tanks, and then all the accuracy to counter your evasion characters. Then we got Mirage for the tempo. Bah! That's a team. All right, that's a real team. It's a real team. But Niv'lu, very strong. Counters tanks hard. Has some CC. Has some accuracy down. Very good stuff with this character here. Now we have Christmas Ramada. So, Christmas Ramada is basically like a water Stern. I mean, she's soldier. She's got soldier in there. She's got ninja sub job just like Stern. And then she's got Monk, which doesn't really do anything for her. Her limit burst does allow her to, get that slash resist down. But at the end of the day, she's nothing super special. You know, for PvE, if you have her, you can use her, you can love her. But the combination of like ninja, Monk, and soldier main job is a little weird there. If that Monk was something else, maybe we'd have something to work with. But nothing super special, honestly. Just hits hard and doesn't have any way to like really counter damage coming in. Maybe you want to get in there and use Ususemi from Ninja or something if you choose to do that. But she loses like Hazard Spin, and Hard Slash, and like Paralyzing Edge, I think is what she loses there. And then I don't even actually know if she gets Ususemi. She doesn't get Ususemi. She gets the Cider of Fate. So yeah, no, definitely big B tier girl there for you. Now, speaking of holiday units and Christmas units, we do have the second batch of Christmas characters. And now we have Christmas Viktora here, and just like Niv'lu, she's in this tier for the same reason. I would almost put her. I'd put her maybe SSS plus tier if her AI wasn't broken when it comes to her Paladin job. It does not use, no matter what, it will never use the Paladin 50% physical mitigation barrier. If she had access to that, then she'd be like a sniper Garvel, right? Like a character who could be built and then also resist physical damage while being her main role and be built bulky. But she doesn't have access to that. So she doesn't have that right now. And that's really something that would make her super special. But she doesn't have it, so she's not super special. So she's just going to be S tier here for all the same reasons that she's in here as Niv'lu, because her Paladin sub job basically doesn't exist, because the best reason to use that sub job is not in there right now. She still has access to Sentinel and stuff, which is fine, but it's not as good as being able to just pre-buff up with that 50% barrier. She's never really going to use Sentinel that often, because if she can hit you, she's not going to use Sentinel. She's got a lot of range. She'll get even more range in the future. Does have double gunner, does have access to smoke screen, is good as well. Does have counter smoke because she's a sniper, so keep an eye out for that girl there. Now we have Skull here. Now the Skull is probably one of the rarest characters to see in this game. I think he's one of the rarest characters that you will ever see built in War of the Visions. This is because of when his banner drops. So a lot of people don't really know what he does, but he is very good. I'm gonna slot him in S tier. He's very strong because he has access to Time Mage, he's got a couple vision cards that are based around him. Time magic plus black magic, good stuff. It's good. He's just an all-around great character. I think he's S tier because of his access to the strong time magic if you can utilize it right, especially in PvE. Right, you're getting your formations together, you want to get your buffs off. Stuff's hard, haste, quicken, all of that good stuff. This boy's gonna have your back. He is going to do that, and then he's gonna drop the big bombs when you're ready to throw down, which is what you're gonna want to do. And if you don't want to do that, he also has access to staff mage. So then he has on high movement maps, he's got jump +1, move +1. He's got lightning staff to lower CT. He's got a teleport. He's got stun. He's got 100% hit move with energy buster. That's the name of it, energy buster. So he's flexible. He's flexible. Energy buster. Boom. That's good. 100% hit move. Got all the black magic. That's good. Has good passives. Has good reaction commands. And has access to haste and quicken. He's S tier for sure. If you have him, maybe put a little bit of love into him for right now. But he's pretty good, or maybe you have already put a lot of love into him. Who knows? I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge. Speaking of strong mages, this guy's technically not a mage, but Howlet is very good. Howlet's very good for a lot of reasons here, because he attacks you from 2 different axes. So this is going to come into contact and be helpful in PvE as well as PvP, because he's doing magic damage, but he's using a typical resist that people build against physical builds, right? He's slashing damage that does magic based off your spirit. So he's attacking your slashing resist, but also your spirit. And if you're building a character in PvP or enemies in particular, sometimes in PvE, they'll have slashing resist in defense, not slashing resist in spirit. They'll have slashing resist in defense. So Howlet is going to attack you from 2 different opposite axes at the same time. And that's very strong. And then on top of that, he's got really, really, really nice passives, really nice skills. He's got spirit penetration, not magic resist penetration. Might be magic, might be both. Might be both. He's got high multipliers, very high magic, very high accuracy. Winter Viktora, or not Winter Viktora, Winter Venera just came out, and he's pretty good against her when built properly. Because a lot of times they build her mag res. So it's just good. Howlet's just a strong guy. Can jamming thrust on red mage for that magic resist, in case they have that slash resist. Also has a slash resist pen buff. Has a Roger Blade, so he's got a very strong magic attack that uses their magic resist, and an incredibly powerful slash attack that uses their slash resist, and he can reduce their slash attack resist with his buff, which is great. And then he can also go in there, and he has a spirit pen passive, which is awesome, attached to an accuracy passive for some reason. So he's a very strong character. If you haven't been working on your Howlet, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Speaking of good boys, what's about Rain? All right, Rain from another universe. Now, Rain does suffer like all of the other tanks suffer right now. Being dispelled in PvP. The one thing Rain has a leg up on them with, though, is he's not your atypical, I want to run this against everything tank, right? A lot of people run him as a magic tank. And so if you run him as a magic tank in PvP, you're typically running him against mages. And there's really only like one girl who can dispel here. But even if you do run into that, he's still really good. He's still S tier, because he's just super bulky on his own. He can hold his own. He can do his own good damage. And the real reason here, even though tanks are so bad in PvP, is that he's been one of the most flexible and versatile PvE units. And he's one of the most flexible and versatile units, period, in the game. But you'll see countless raids and end game content where people just take a whole bunch of range to it, because he brings his own imperil, he brings his own resist down, he brings all this other stuff, and he does a bunch of damage all on his own. You just build him for damage, Rain, boom, get in there. Then you can make him tank, and you can do a lot of stuff for range. So Rain is solidly S tier, like he should be. I don't know what I meant by that, like he should be, but yes, he's very good, and he's well worth your time in this game. Now Miranda here, Miranda. I struggle between B and A tier for Miranda. She's pretty good. She does have quicken and haste. She has jamming thrust. She suffers a little bit in PvP from her element type. In PvE, she's fine, right? She also suffers from I'm not a calculator syndrome, right now. If we ever get a calculator with Quicken from her time a sub job. So those are the two things she kind of struggles on. If you're not abusing haste and you're not abusing Quicken, she's a B tier character. If you're trying to abuse it, she's an A tier character. Most people don't know how to do that though, especially in auto battle. So I'm gonna put that in B tier here. But she is good. Her heals take time to cast, and they're not the high. They're not Kiraga. She does have jamming thrust, which is nice. Like I said, haste as well. But outside of that, nothing super special. She's not like Skahal, who's got staff mage and haste and quicken and black mage and insane stats and all this other stuff. She's got like paladin sub job and stuff, which doesn't really work out super well because you can build her super tanky because all this defense pen just kind of ruins your plan. She folds like a wet paper bag anyway. So she's gonna be B tier. Sorry that one took so long. I had to think about that thoroughly. I had to thoroughly think about that. Now here's one I also had to thoroughly think about. I've been thinking about this one as I've been winding down here. Venera, where does Venera go? Venera, my love, where do you go? What do we do with you? How good are you still? She is still really good. She is still really good. The main problem with Venera is that she doesn't have a lot of people that play very well with her in PvP or even in PvE. In PvE, she's fine. You can manually control, make your team hang back. In PvP and auto-controlled stuff, she likes to run off on her own. And there's not a lot of other characters who are good, right? Kitone would be a good character that could run off with her. But Kitone's not particularly amazing. So if there's a bunch of other really fast moving, high dodgy characters like Venera, if there's more Veneras in the world, basically, then them all existing together would collectively make them all better because you can put them all on the same team. But because you can't do that, she's solidly A tier still. She's good, but the problem with Venera is there's more high dex characters, high luck characters, more accuracy, espers and accuracy vision cards just with free accuracy thrown on them in the game. That makes her weaker. The fact that she still hasn't gotten anyone that super well played with her so that they can keep up together and get the affinity bonus makes her a little bit weaker as well. But she still does good stuff, right? She still breaks defense and hits really hard and has pretty cheap spells. Has access to smoke screen or go in there and take the full Monty and use shadow cast for 42% dodge, which is insane. And that's really where she gets held back because she doesn't have anyone that can really go full all in on her. If she goes in there, she can't just quite kill somebody on her own before everyone else catches up. Her smoke screen is going to fall off, or her shadow cast is going to fall off. And with the amount of free accuracy a lot of characters get nowadays, she's just going to get hit, right? Some of the two top tier characters in the game, this man gets a 40% accuracy buff, Ruin Stern, and Laswell's got some pretty nice accuracy of his own. And she's not going to last too long trying to get through these characters, or even like Guts characters, like these top SSS plus tier characters. So she's A tier for that reason. I want to make sure that one was fully understood. Okay, because she's just there. She's just okay. She's just an okay girl. Now, speaking of just okay girls, another just okay girl is Viktora. Viktora's a character that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot right now. She suffers from kind of like Glaciela syndrome, pretty much, because Glaciela is a better unit than Viktora. I know a lot of people will point this out. Glaciela is a better unit than Viktora, in my opinion. But Viktora has people that she can pick on. Specifically, some of the better characters in the game that she can pick on with her type, as she is ice. Unlike Glaciela, who's water here. Because there's a lot of characters, especially Halloween Little Leela. You can try to pick on Halloween Little Leela. You get your accuracy up there. And if she don't die, she put an Alex ring on Viktora. Later on, boom. Her limit burst, it might not ever happen to you, but because it's such a weird LB and it's one of her hardest hitting things against a lot of mages too, you might just end up charming them. Especially if it's, like I said, you max level that thing up. It forces the AI to use it because it's got a really high multiplier. And you charm a mage with it. Even if you don't kill the mage, you charm it, and all of a sudden it starts absolutely ripping through the enemy team for you. It's very, very powerful. So keep that in mind as well, right? 2 wind characters up in here. Very nice. There's only 1 fire character that she's weak to up in here, or just 1 fire character period up in this tier list above her, SNS plus tier, and that's Rain. So, you know, only having 1 weakness is a plus for Viktora, and only having 1 strength is a minus for Glaciela so far. So keep that in mind as well. She's a very good character, although I think in a poll on is Glaciela better than Viktora in a vacuum, yes, but in the meta for PvP, no. In PvE, they're both going to do amazing stuff for you. Now, speaking of doing amazing stuff for you, Orlandeau's gonna do amazing stuff for you. Orlandeau's gonna do amazing stuff for you when you get a TMR and then you never use her again. Throw her down in B tier. She's just one of those other characters in PvE. She's fine, but she's just another example of like, I'm not really that special. Like the most special thing that she has is she's soldier and she can drain force like all these other drain forces down here. Although it's really hard to get that to kill anyone. It's gonna be even harder to get this to kill anyone real time soon. So just like all the other soldiers, she hits hard, but she can't be in like a dodge team. She's not like super tanky enough to really tank any super well built, I'm gonna mess you up geared characters. It's not gonna happen at the end of the day. Like sure, yeah, if you're messing around in, you know, low arena or guild war or something, you can make her work that way. But she's not fit for that sort of role at high end. It just doesn't work really. And this is non-EX, so nothing super special. Her TMR is very strong though if your character can equip it. Now we have Rogger Bro, whatever this guy is. So this guy I had a lot of trouble with. He's also hard to come into contact with because of when his banner came out. It was very hard for people to actually have this character, to use this character. But I would put him either A or B tier. And I think right now it's mainly like B tier because his role as a character is like a bulky bruiser dude who wants to live a while and get healed up and then hit you really hard. And the problem with that right now is that unless you're specifically trying to counter a certain type of enemy type, like Winter Viktora is with magic, it doesn't work out super well. It doesn't work out a whole bunch because how many times are you gonna get hit before you die, and how many times are you gonna hit the enemy before they die? That's what your whole shtick's about. And you're not tanky enough to get hit that many times by some of the full out DPS characters up here in the game. It's just not gonna happen to get maximized. So it's really hard. It's really hard to really do that. And if I had to look at Winter Vin and this boy, I call him Rogger because of 14. It's not his name, but he's like the physical counterpart to X Venera. He's got the physical barrier, so he's pretty good. He's just an all-around stand-up guy. Okay, all right, he's just an all-around stand-up guy. I don't know how much of that we'll take back, but anyway, let's finish this up. Yerma here. Yerma's B tier. She's still the only character in the game that uses an axe as a UR character. All right, as a UR character. Got me. And she was pretty good when she came out. Right, she's got thief sub job, but she's not particularly like the most dodgy character in the game in her base form, pre-EX. She doesn't have, you know, crazy bunch of defense pen or slash resist down or any of this other stuff any of these new characters do. And this just means if you try to use her, you're gonna get stonewalled by all these people still trying to use these tanks because they're still good when they're not fighting these people up here. Right, that's why this tier list is a thing, and she's weaker than all the tanks because she doesn't have any way to counter any of those tanks. So that's just kind of where she stays. Now we have my boy Zombie Raryu, S tier. He's crazy. I don't think he's triple S tier worthy, strictly because he's weak against one of the most common characters in the game, being Halloween Little Leela, and also his re-raise mechanic gimmick. Big old Duane, you know, big old Duane coming out. But he does have access to Immortal, which is very good, just like Kane. You can see that's one of the most cheesiest teams you can get in the game is Kane plus Raryu, both with Immortal. You can throw Laswell in there if you want. You can throw Halloween Little Leela in there if you want. You can throw Agrias in there if you want, or Garvel, or whatever it is that you want it to. And that team's just going to make it really rough for you. Really, really, really rough, because you move up, you hit them, you don't kill them. If you didn't proc Immortality, then you're really messed up, because then you have to hit them again before you proc Immortality, and you're dead by then. Or if you go up there, you go to one-shot them, Immortality procs, and then they take you out. And basically you have to hit, if you're all full DPS, they have to hit you 3 times and you have to hit them 6 times, and that's really, really, really hard to deal with. So very strong character, has the same job as Howlet, except he's the earth form. A little bit tankier than Howlet, but still has those accuracy passives, spirit resist passives down, all that good stuff that made Howlet good. He's just earth, and then his TMR gives you the ability to re-raise yourself. Now Sakura here, also SSSS plus tier, because she's one of the only characters in the game. Actually, she's the only character in the game that could fight against this nonsense we've been talking about in PvP with guts. You can take that off. Okay, she's one of the only characters that can do it, and because of that, by that alone, she'll be SSS tier. But that's not all that she has access to. She also has 100% hit maneuvers. She has buffs that are very, very strong for you for different element resistances like light, dark, and lightning. She has resistance, a buff to spirit penetration, buff to magic. She's got a lot of cool stuff. She got a teleport with the Kododama wielder. Very, very strong character here. Also has 2 different types of attacks that she can use. In her limit burst, hits like a football field in size for some reason. I don't know why, but she's also light and lightning damage. So very strong stuff there with our Sakura. So if you guys want to see more stuff on the channel like this, let me know. Do share this list around. It's very good, well educational. Make sure that you do go ahead once again to Amazon Coins. Have a good time out there. Use that link down in the description. Share it around, spread it around, and that's the best way to support me with the channel right now, is that, or just liking this video. With that being said, take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.